Okay, so I just recorded a video a little bit earlier, and it had something to do with Kyrie Irving and some of the mental issues he seems to be going through, and his somewhat cathartic Instagram post that was, I guess, supposed to be somewhat of a release valve for him. But I don't think I'm gonna put that one out. Instead, I decided to do this one. Okay, now I've said in previous videos dealing with the Boston Celtics, Kyrie Irving, that I believe Kyrie Irving's presence was the problem, but I don't think that Kyrie was doing it I don't think anything he was doing intentionally was causing an issue on the team. It was almost his just the mere presence of him on the team seemed like it was causing a divide. Now, I watched a little bit of this video. This is only a 5-minute video. I watched pretty much most of it, and I got Stephen A's take on the subject, and I disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly. I think that Kyrie Irving was the problem, because if we go back to last year and we watched them while Kyrie Irving was on the floor, for the most part, there was a pretty average team. I mean, they wasn't as energetic on defense, and the ball movement just wasn't there. It just didn't seem like cohesive in a way. Some can put some of the blame on Gordon Hayward and his inability because of the injury or whatever, and he may have been rushed back. But then this is what I say to that. When Kyrie Irving went down with an injury late last year, right before the playoffs, and it was like a few game stretch where Kyrie Irving didn't play. When you watch that team play, when Kyrie Irving got hurt versus when Kyrie Irving was on the floor, that team looked a lot more synchronized. The ball movement was constant. It seemed like everybody was putting everybody else in the best position to score, and they were putting each other in the best position to make big plays, and even Gordon Hayward was out there. So I don't see how Gordon Hayward was the problem, because when Kyrie went down, it seemed like even with Gordon Hayward on the floor, this team was a lot more unified. Go back and look at some of the games that Kyrie missed late last year when he got hurt, and watch the ball movement versus when Kyrie played with the team. Just look at the highlights. The ball movement, when you look at some of the players and their interaction with each other, they looked happy. I'm not going to say happy. I think they looked like they were enjoying themselves very much. And, and a lot of times, man, I think a lot of these black sports analysts, they try not to throw a lot of the blame on, these guys, because of their pigmentation. But I mean, if he is the problem, he's the problem. We don't have to make this thing a racial thing. He's just the problem. And now you look at the team this year, even Gordon Hayward, who looks miles better. I mean, I believe he's dinged up now, but when he was on the floor, man, he looked unbelievably better than he did last year, even though I thought he made significant improvements last year. Throughout the course of the season, he looked better this year. And on the other hand, Kyrie Irving and his new team, they're struggling. I mean, at some point, man, this has to be a message. So I'm going to play the video.
Marcus Smart addressed questions about Kyrie Irving's impact on the team last year, and he said, quote, "It's not that we didn't know how to act around him. It's that we didn't know how he was going to act. We didn't know what his moods were, and we didn't know what Kyrie was going through." So, fair or not, guys, Kyrie Irving left Boston with a stench to him. The murmurs, true or not, insinuated that he was a problematic leader. And so Kyrie has since...
And I forgot when it happened, but I think it was somewhere around the All-Star break, where Kyrie Irving came out into the media and he said that he had a conversation with LeBron, and there was supposed to be some Machiavellian attempts to try to force his teammates to fall in line. I thought that was incredibly immature, and I believe that his teammates looked at it as incredibly immature and somewhat disrespectful, because you're supposed to be our leader. We're supposed to be following you. You want us to follow you. But you're talking about you had to go to some other dude on another team. It's not some retired guy. It's a guy that's actually playing, currently playing right now, that who you had somewhat of a sordid history with or whatever. The reason why you were forced out of your situation to our situation, and you go to him for advice. You go to him for help, but we're supposed to follow you, and you're not even sure if you can lead us. Like, I mean, that had to be running through their mind. But again, some people want to make this about Gordon Hayward, and you put Gordon Hayward in there, who's not only white but he's injured, and they forced him back and they rushed him back, and you take time away from these young brothers who want to play more, and you're taking minutes away from them. That's going to cause a problem in the locker room. But again, when we watch Gordon Hayward without Kyrie on that floor, the team looks different. Even this year, the team looks different. Kemba Walker is probably, and I said this when they got him, he can do some of the things, most of the things that Kyrie Irving can do. But the one thing that he has that Boston needs right now is a guy that's willing to be a part of the team, not force the players to follow behind him, not force his star power on the coach. He's just willing to be a cog, be a piece, and do the best he can to contribute. I mean, dude just had a neck injury, and then he comes back and drops 39. So I don't know, man. Like, I think I said this before. Kemba is the best trade-off. He's the best consolation prize, because his attitude is what makes him a far better fit than Kyrie ever was in Boston.
Departed for the Brooklyn Nets, and despite losing Kyrie, this all-NBA talent, this season Celtics are second in the East. They're 12-4 on the season so far, and if you look closely, dare I say, the Celtics look like they're having fun. And
that's the biggest thing about it, because if you look at last year before the injury to Kyrie Irving, it just did not look like they were having a good time out there. And sometimes, I mean, although you're getting paid, this is a business. Sometimes you want to have fun playing a sport that you've been playing your entire life. I mean, that's the best way to play it, is have fun, especially with guys that you're more than all in going to war with, man. I mean, you want to have fun with it. Nobody wants to go to work and be bored all damn day. Nobody wants to go to work and be around people they don't like. And that was the biggest thing that I was trying to get across. Before the injury to Kyrie late in the season, it looked like there was no enjoyment whatsoever in playing the game. At least playing the game with your teammates. And then after the injury, it seemed like it was revitalized in the locker room. It seemed like on the court it was just this surge of energy.
Stephen A., does this season prove that Kyrie was the problem?
No, I don't think it does. And I don't think that it's his situation is being depicted fairly, and I've stated that.
How is it not being depicted fairly? How is it not being depicted? There are people out here that have given Kyrie Irving the benefit of the doubt. He played with an overbearing mama's. I'm not even gonna go there. He's an overbearing, emotional guy like LeBron James, who forces his will on people at times. And for some reason, we did give him a benefit of the doubt, but then for some reason, I mean, Kyrie, it's like he had a meltdown like Kevin Durant did, where, I mean, now that he's in a better situation than the situation he was in, and he has the spotlight, he felt like, he could say whatever you want and do whatever you want. I mean, it's like I don't know, it feels like he changed in a way. He became a lot more assertive, and not assertive in a positive way. It seemed like he almost was seeking out the confrontations. at times. But look, man, Kyrie is a phenomenal talent, man. I just think that there are pieces to his game that is missing that will prevent him from being a great leader. And I've also said that LeBron James is not a great leader. So, yeah, LeBron James isn't the barometer.
Continue to state that. Now, if we're asking a question, is there problems with Kyrie Irving's version of leadership? Absolutely. I'm not disputing that. And I'll leave that to Max to touch on. There's no question about that. But to act like that was the problem in Cleveland, to act like that was the problem in Boston is where I raise up and I say, nah. Now, I'm not going to get into people's business. That's not my style. What I would tell you is that he was done dirty in Cleveland. They know what I'm talking about. We're going to leave it at that. He was done dirty. And if the kind of stuff that happened to him, had happened to other people, they would have reacted in similar fashion. He transitions to Boston. Here's what happens in Boston. And Max and I have been known to disagree on this point. I make the contention that Gordon Hayward being inserted into the starting lineup was the death knell to that organization last season. In fairness to Brad Stevens, who I'm very fond of, and in fairness to Danny Ainge, who I respect profoundly, and he and I have spoken, and we respectfully disagree, but I make my position very, very clear. Brad Stevens coached Gordon Hayward at Butler. That was his star. That man was not ready. I like Gordon Hayward. I'm proud that when he gets healthy, he's on the floor, that brother can play. But he was not healthy. And he was getting waxed in practice. He wasn't ready. And to take that guy and to insert him into the starting lineup, and I'm going to go here, Max, in a league that's more than 75% black, with a bunch of brothers who can ball, who are looking for their moment to shine, particularly fresh coming off an Eastern Conference Game 7 finals.
If Gordon Hayward was the issue, why is he still on the team, and why do they seem to be playing a lot better this year? When you look at Terry Rozier and the reasons why he left, Gordon Hayward didn't come up. Issues with Gordon Hayward didn't come up. The possible Gordon Hayward situation wasn't mentioned. It was about him playing behind Kyrie, which took the ball out of his hands, put him on the bench, and forced him to play reduced minutes because they had Kyrie at point guard. That was one of the topics of conversation, not Gordon Hayward. And if Gordon Hayward was the problem last year and people felt some type of way about him taking minutes away from them, you can't tell this year. You can't tell this year.
Birth without Kyrie. To follow up that season by inserting an unready Gordon Hayward into the starting lineup was the beginning of everything.
What about the politics of how much he was being paid too? Sometimes that factors in as well.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying
it's purely.
No, I'm not saying that's
racial or relationship-wise. It's based on everything. That plus the contract.
It wasn't based.
Okay.
The decision wasn't based on race.
The decision to play him.
The brothers, they had a problem with that.
All right, look.
So the Kyrie element was later.
Here's the problem.
That's all I'm saying.
Here's my problem I have with you in this take.
Sure.
Your hypothesis is undisprovable. So what is undisprovable hypothesis? When you can't disprove a hypothesis, that makes it a religious belief. If it can't be disproven, and I'm just saying there's no evidence, it seems to me, about Kyrie that will satisfy you that it's his. That it's on him.
Before I let you go on, the only part that I think that's unfair about your characterization is I came on here on First Take before we even got into a conversation about Kyrie Irving and told you I had spoken to people, and that's where I got it.
Yeah, I understand.
I didn't believe
you
this.
can
I was
selectively.
told.
Who the hell did Stephen A. talk to? I have sources. Really? Who are your sources? Who are your sources that said Gordon Hayward is the problem? Did it come out of Marcus Smart's camp? Jason Tatum's camp? Jaylen Brown's camp? Al Horford's camp? Brad Stevens' camp? Danny Ainge's camp? Who did you talk to? Whose opinion would validate your whole position on this? Who did you talk to? Because you could be talking to anybody. You could be talking to Kyrie's camp. and asking them, what do you think the problem is with this team? You could be talking to them about that. So saying I have anonymous sources that completely, or that fingered Gordon Hayward as the issue on the team is so vague. It's so vague. It's way too vague for you to use that as a position and try to stand on it because it's not strong enough. I have a source that said this. I have a source that said that. Somebody close to the organization. That's it.
You can selectively use that evidence and say, well, with the Cavs, he was done dirty, and with the Celtics, it was Gordon Hayward, and now what is it with the Nets? Because at a certain point, you look, there's one consistent character through all...
Real shit. And there's a saying, I'm pretty sure we've all heard this at some point. If you have a problem with everybody, and everybody has a problem with you, you are the only constant. That which means you are the problem, not everybody else. And Kyrie Irving seems to be a common denominator in a lot of these situations. The situation in Cleveland, Boston, and now in Brooklyn. Now, I do give Kyrie somewhat of a pass because, to be honest, I don't think he really wanted LeBron to come back to Cleveland. But LeBron was coming back regardless. And I think he was forced into a situation he didn't want to be in. And that's what I believe happened in Boston as well. He was forced into a situation I don't think he necessarily wanted to be in. He tried to make the best out of it and moved on when the time was right. That's what I think happened. And now this Brooklyn situation where this team is 9-8. I don't think we've seen much of Kevin Durant. I don't think we've seen much of Kyrie. Spencer Dinwiddie, who is a bona fide baller coming off the bench. Jared Allen, who's a bona fide baller coming off the bench. And his team is only 9-8. I mean, if you've been looking at Garrett Temple over the past couple of weeks, Garrett Temple has been playing unbelievable basketball. I mean, he might be, at this point, a candidate for most improved player. Or sixth man of the year. One of those. I mean, Garrett Temple has had some pretty good games. Spencer Dinwiddie is a borderline all-star. Jared Allen is a borderline all-star. I don't know, man.
And that's Kyrie. It's not that he doesn't have a good leadership style. It's that he's not a leader. He's not a leader.
Period. And that's what I wanted to say before. Where Stephen A. was like, is there a problem with Kyrie's version of what he thinks a leader is? Bro, it doesn't... Him having these issues doesn't mean that he has a distorted view of what a leader is. Some people just aren't leaders. They fool themselves into thinking that they can be. But some people just aren't leaders, man. I don't think they're bad leaders. They're just not leaders at all, man. I don't know, man. I agree with that.
He is the most talented player on the floor. He is an all-time great talent. And by the way, there's a difference between talent and skill. Talent is kind of like what you're capable of doing physically, like in a raw way, before you've refined your craft. Skill is what you learn to do with that talent. It's not just that Kyrie's a crazy talent. He's the most skillful player you will ever see. The talent plus the skill, but the knowledge of how and when to deploy it, the leadership in the locker room, all those things, it's not happening. And worse than that, we keep hearing the same thing. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports.
But that's it, though, man. This Kyrie Irving situation, I believe that it wasn't going to be over, especially when they started playing the Boston Celtics throughout the season. And I'm pretty sure that more stories are headed our way with this whole situation. Okay.